I'm going to draw a little graph here. All right. And so what this graph represents is, think of it as a continuum of your capacity, or your perception of your capacity is probably more accurate. Okay. So your capacity, right? And there's a sweet spot on how to relate to your capacity as a person, and it's right here at the top. Okay, we're going to call this the zone of optimal growth. I'm even going to highlight it because I don't know, it just seems like the thing to do with the zone of optimal growth, don't you think? Yeah, why not? Right? So that's your sweet spot. Okay. Now, this capacity piece, there are two extremes that people will fall into. Okay. And they're both an expression of insecurity. Insecurity shows up over here. Insecurity shows up over here. Okay. This one on the left is basically what I kind of refer to as the I suck zone. And basically, when you're over here, you're basically in the perception that you have no capacity. You're basically a loser and a failure. Like, you suck. Has anyone ever been over on this side of the hoop? Yeah, of course we all have. Yeah, sure. Right? And you know what the other side of this is? I know everything. I heard a term for this recently that I loved. Has anyone heard the term tortured genius? So good. I love this term, right? A tortured genius is basically somebody who relates to them as a genius, and they're basically tortured by everybody else's stupidity. Like, I know what everyone should be doing, and it's just painful to live in a world where I know and nobody else does. Tortured genius. Yes? Right? Not saying any of you ever do that, but you probably know somebody who does this, right? That's tortured genius. Basically, what's the more common term for this is arrogance. I know and you don't. I believe the right things, you believe the wrong things. I have the answers, you don't. I can't even tolerate being around people that don't believe the things that I believe. That's a sign of tortured genius. Okay. And so that's one side of it. Now, so what's the sweet spot? You say, well, how do we get to the top of this curve? It's owning two spaces. Here's what I'm good at. Own the capacity you have. Own it. Because I'm telling you, there's not a person on this call that can't name the capacity that they have, the things that they have a capacity in. A lot of us choose not to focus on it. That's different, right? But own the capacity you have. And guess what is on the other side of this? And here is what I need to learn. Here's what I don't know. There's not a situation in your life where these two things can't be owned. I don't care what's happening in your life, you can own both of these situations. Here's what I know, here's what I don't know. There will never be a time where you know everything. And there'll never be a time that you completely suck and know nothing. Ever. It will never happen. Now, there's a name that we give to the zone of optimal growth, okay? It's basically called the space of humility. Humility has two sides to the coin. Here's what I'm really can own, what I can say that I'm good at, and what I can own the capacity in this space, and I can also own and be very clear that I know nothing about this, or I'm absolutely terrible at this. I suck at this, as a matter of fact. Like own what you haven't nailed yet, where there's a capacity that can be built. Okay, now what else happens in this space? What's the other thing that happens here that terrifies the crap out of people? What is it? What space do you enter when you own these two things? I'm going purple for this word. It's the V word. Vulnerable. Yeah. Is there a sense of vulnerability to own the capacity you don't have? Sure. Yeah. To admit you're human, you don't have all the answers, that we're imperfect at everything we do. That is a freedom. To own that is so freeing. Hey, I'm imperfect at everything I do. Ah, what a relief. This is great. I'm totally fallible. I am teaching this class and screwing it up the whole way through. The whole way through. I promise you. Okay? There's no, that you've heard, many of you have heard me in other classes, like you've heard me say time and time again, there's no destination. A lot of you are looking for this destination called I've arrived. I got it. It doesn't exist. Here's what actually happens the more you grow and learn. Do you know what happens the more you grow and learn? The bigger this is, the bigger that becomes. The more you grow, the more you learn, the more you realize you know nothing. You know what I've learned over the last couple months as Josh and I have been diving into this stuff like madmen and having a blast doing it? Do you know what my awareness has been over the last couple months? I don't know much about personal development and helping others relative to what's out there in the world. Like, I have no clue what I'm doing. So welcome to my class. Seriously, man, like this is a infinitely complex, incredible journey we're on called life. We could live 1 million lifetimes and still not extract what's possible to extract out of life. You could not live 10,000 lifetimes and even start to scrape what's possible to extract out of life. Okay? Get excited about that. Get excited about the things that you have no idea what you're doing. Like, you don't know. You're not sure. You're tripping over yourself. You're falling on your face. You can't figure it out. Friggin' celebrate that. You're going to learn something. That's where life happens. It happens there. That's where evolution happens. That's where growth happens. But in that moment, don't go too far. You can slip down here sometimes, right? Right? And don't get me wrong, for some people, this graph, this curve can look like this. It could be that. Like, it could be like, yeah, I think I've had some moments there, but man, I slipped right back down on either side. And that's okay. Good. Own that. Own that. Hey, I've been here before, but man, I still have a lot of opportunity and things to learn to kind of maybe smooth this thing out a little bit.